네, 이제 본격적으로 컨퍼런스 시작하겠습니다. 인공지능 전문가이자 스탠퍼드대 법정박 교수죠. 제리 카플란의 특별 강연 듣겠습니다. 4차 산업혁명과 인공지능, 한국의 기회와 도전 과제입니다. 역시 큰 박수로 카플란 교수 맞아주시기 바랍니다.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here, and I very much appreciate the invitation. So greetings from Silicon Valley. It was also a great honor this morning for me to have an opportunity to meet the candidates for President of Korea. Now I can go home and say that I met the President of Korea. I just don't know who it is yet. So it's really great to be back here in Korea. It's one of my favorite places on earth. You know, to me, visiting Seoul is like visiting the future. You know, everything is so sparkling and clean, and the people are so well dressed, and they're so polite compared to the United States. You know, now that I've met the presidential candidates, you have doctors and entrepreneurs and professors. I mean, in the United States, you know, we have cowboys and entertainers and celebrities. You are very lucky to have such accomplished and intelligent people running for office, and I'm sure no matter who is successful, it will be very much to the credit of the nation. You know, you might think that the United States is an advanced economy, advanced country, but one thing that's different is everything here seems to work. Even my phone works better here than it does in the United States. So I would not be so concerned about the technology and the future of Korea. I'm confident it will be very, very strong. So let me begin. Today I want to talk about artificial intelligence. I'll refer to it as AI for short. I'd like to explain what it is, and equally important, what it is not. And then I'm going to talk about some of the major applications of AI. I will explain how it's likely to affect jobs and the skills that workers are going to need in the future. I'll also discuss some global economic effects of artificial intelligence and some very interesting ethical questions that the technology raises. And finally, I'd just like to present for your consideration a few ideas about how Korea can stay competitive and benefit from all of this wonderful new technology. Okay, the coming age of artificial intelligence is sometimes called the fourth industrial revolution. So I was asked to quickly review what the four industrial revolutions are. The first industrial revolution refers roughly to the period 1700 to 1850, when the steam engine revolutionized the biggest industries of the time. And these were most notably textile production and ironwork. During this period, it was mostly agrarian farming, rural societies, and they were transformed by these technologies into becoming industrial and urban. The second industrial revolution started around 1870 and is generally described as ending at the beginning of World War I. Now, during that period, electrical power distribution grids and electrical motors came into use. And major technological advances that occurred during that period include things like the telephone, the light bulb, and phonograph. It was also during that period that in the US, certainly, the railroads were built, and that revolutionized transportation and speeded the globalization of trade. The third industrial revolution is, of course, familiar to all of us because we've lived through it. It's the development of digital and computer systems, this IT revolution. You know, created the computer industry, networking, and the internet, as well as the modern cell and smartphones in addition. So what is the fourth industrial revolution? We're merely guessing what it's going to be, but many people believe we're about to enter a new period based on a convergence of a series of technologies, as you heard a bit earlier from the other speakers, about artificial intelligence, robotics, the networking of everyday objects. It's what's known as the Internet of Things, or IoT. Now, it's difficult to single out certain industries as the main beneficiaries because it's likely to be so broadly affecting many, many different industries with these new technologies. Now, it's not unreasonable to suggest that the fourth industrial revolution may have an impact on the world that is comparable to the invention of the wheel. In fact, the invention of the wheel mainly revolutionized transportation. But that's only one of the fields that's likely to be transformed by artificial intelligence. However, AI is widely misunderstood by most people. When most people think about artificial intelligence, they worry that we're building increasingly intelligent machines that will ultimately exceed human capabilities. They're going to steal our jobs. They're possibly going to escape human control, and they're going to take over the world. Now, that's because of what they see in the movies. We run the video, please. I won't show you the whole film. Perhaps some of you have seen it. Now, this is exciting and it's scary, but it's not the best way to think about artificial intelligence technology. For one thing, what you see in the movies is far beyond the current state of the art. You might find it comforting to learn just how primitive our best human-like robots are today. I would like to show you what some of the brightest engineers in the world could produce for a recent robotics competition that was held by the U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Please run the video. Oh, I'm sorry. AI in the public imagination. Okay, sorry. Here we go. AI in reality. Please run the video. Welcome to the future. Now, as you can see, today's robots are slow and clumsy, but you might wonder, what will happen when we improve them? Will they be more like the Terminator from the first clip I showed you in the movies? Are they going to rise up against us and take over the world? Well, the answer is no. Because robots don't have independent goals and desires. A robot that's designed to wash and fold laundry may be plenty sophisticated. It might learn not to put your laundry away while you're sleeping, or learn just how you like your shirts folded. But it isn't going to wake up one day and say, oh my God, what a fool I've been. I really want to operate the Seoul Arts Center. I have more good news. It's okay to laugh, by the way. People here in Korea sometimes ask me if Korea can keep up with the United States in artificial intelligence. Well, I think Korea is actually one of the leading countries when it comes to artificial intelligence technology. I showed you a video of the US robotics competition. As you could see, most of the robots didn't work very well, but one of them did work well, and it came from Korea. A team from the Korea Advanced Institute for Science and Technology was the first to complete the challenge, and they won the competition. They beat teams not only from the best universities and research institutes in the United States, but also from teams from all over the world. Now, Korea also has one of the few university campuses in the world where you can call a fully automated taxi. The Intelligent Vehicle IT Research Center at Seoul National University has been testing driverless taxis to transport disabled students all around campus. The vehicle, which is a specially equipped Hyundai Genesis, has been safely navigating the campus for, I guess, about a year and a half now, if I'm not mistaken. So clearly, Korea is a leader in the field of artificial intelligence. But what really is artificial intelligence? Now, a common definition of the field is the theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and translation between languages. But this definition isn't very good. For one thing, we often use computers and machines to do many tasks way faster and better than a human can. You know, we usually want to build systems that far outperform humans, not just copy what humans can do. But there's nothing new about that. That's also what the first three industrial revolutions were about. And each time, people were amazed at the new technologies and worried that in the future, there wouldn't be enough jobs for everyone. At each step, it seemed as though the machines were taking over and they were going to make people obsolete. Today, people's concerns about AI are much like the concerns of the 18th century factory workers. Back then, the Jacquard loom was introduced and it replaced the work of highly skilled weavers. Weaving intricate patterns in cloth required years of training and practice, and the weavers were highly respected and very well paid for the work that they do. Along came these machines and poof, all those smart and talented people were out of work. Now, you might think that we'd be more sophisticated today, but consider that just, I guess a year and a half ago now, a program called AlphaGo, which many of you may have heard of, which was developed at Google, won 4 out of 5 games of Go over Korean expert Lee Sedol. The AlphaGo program used AI to play and analyze millions of games of Go, far more than a human could play in their entire lifetime. Now, after the match, Lee Sedol expressed disappointment and regret that he had lost to a computer program. He even apologized to his audience and his fans for losing the match. And I suspect this demonstration may have been one of the motivations for the kind of talks you heard today for the Korean government to pay very close attention to AI. Now, while I respect Lee Sedol's humility, he has nothing to apologize for. A computer beating a human player at Go is no more surprising than a Jacquard loom producing cloth faster than a human weaver, or a car outrunning a human runner, or a plane flying higher than a bird, or a submarine diving deeper than a whale. None of these achievements means that humans, birds, or fish are inferior to the machines. It just means that we're capable of building some remarkable technology that can do some amazing things. Of course, one difference is that the Jacquard loom had real economic value, unlike a machine that can play Go. You know, you might wonder, why Google invested so much money to solve that particular problem. Is it to free us from having the drudgery of playing Go ourselves? It probably means that Google simply has too much money. And it reminds me of a question I once put on an exam course, which was I once asked, why do we program machines to play chess? And they answered, of course, to save us from the drudgery of having to play chess ourselves. So, if artificial intelligence isn't really about making machines smart, what is it? A more useful way to think about the field of AI is as an advanced form of automation. New machines have always automated tasks that previously required human effort and attention, both physical and mental, usually by employing very different techniques. And they often do these tasks better than people can, faster, and at lower cost. Otherwise, they would not be very useful. Now, in the future, artificial intelligence will help us to continue this trend, not because the machines are intelligent, but because they will be valuable tools that can free us from work and also to make us wealthier. So, are robots taking over? Machines and robots already move our freight, score our tests, handle our billing, they plant and pick many of our crops, they trade stocks, they store and retrieve our documents, they manufacture just about everything. Now, all of those are tasks that not long ago would be regarded as requiring human effort and human attention, intelligence. And yet today we take all of those machines in stride. Let me move on. So now I've given you a new way to think about artificial intelligence. Let's explore some of the implications of this new perspective. What is different about artificial intelligence from previous waves of automation? What sort of devices and applications will artificial intelligence make possible? Now, the first is going to be a new generation of machines and robots that can work safely in human spaces. You know, with a few exceptions, today's robots are confined to factories where they perform simple, repetitive operations. Now, the reason for this is that most of our machines can't sense their environment, and they can't adapt to changes in that environment. So they can only work in very carefully controlled settings. But using artificial intelligence, we can now give our robots the equivalent of eyes and ears. So they can sense and interact with their surroundings more like the way that people do or animals do. Now, these new flexible robots are going to be able to work in real-world environments alongside people because they can adapt to what's happening around them. Now, self-driving cars are one of the first examples of these new flexible robots. But self-driving cars are only one example. Can we run the video, please? Thank you. Now, in this video, you can see the human's view at the left and what the car is seeing through its various cameras on the right. Now, you'll notice here, as the human gets out, the car waits for people to cross the street. And then it goes on its own and parks itself. It's wonderful. Now, if only it could pay my parking fines. Now, here's another favorite of mine, and this is already deployed in garden plant nurseries around the United States. Here you can see small robots spacing out potted plants as those plants grow and they need more space. Now, the robots can locate the plants, pick them up, and place them in a new location where they can grow better. This is a terrible job done by humans. They break their backs and tired, it's boring. It's really quite remarkable. They're very cute too. You can stand right in front of them and they'll just go right around you. And you can see they just look around, they find the plant, and they space them out. Another thing about this is the robots can work in the dark. They're actually not using light for this purpose. They're using a little radar. So they can do this 24 hours a day, where people are constrained to doing it during daylight hours. Oh, this is amazing. One of the most remarkable advances is what's called swarm robotics, where collections of robots communicate and coordinate their activities at levels of precision that humans can't achieve. These two robotic drones are playing a game of catch. Now we're going to watch a group deciding by themselves how to go through an open window. These are flying drones. Now, the next is amazing. That's a robot it's going to balance a stick by itself and watch it juggle with another robot. Soon we're going to see flexible robots everywhere. They're going to be painting walls and buildings and cooking meals and serving food and clearing dishes and making beds and washing laundry and walking dogs and laying pipe and cleaning sidewalks, fetching tools, carrying our bags. And that's just to name a few examples. That was a challenge for the translators, that fast. I noticed in Korea, they put them behind bulletproof glass in the back of the room. There must have been some terrible accidents with mistranslation. So, you know, Americans are very gun happy, so you better be careful back there. I hope they translated that. Now, another major advance made possible by artificial intelligence is the ability to read and understand written language, from prepared documents like newspaper articles to text messages that people send to each other. AI programs can be used, for instance, to provide automatic summaries of documents and to perform translation between languages or to give advice. As an example, today there are so many medical research papers published every day that a doctor cannot possibly read and understand all of them. And even though those are easily available to them over the internet. So new systems are being developed that use artificial intelligence to collect all this material from those sources and then read and understand them. Then the systems help doctors to treat the individual patients by bringing the most relevant information and the best treatments to their attention, to the doctor's attention. So one area where artificial intelligence will have a major impact is to make it also easier for us to use computers. Because now, in the past, people had to learn how to use computers, but now the computers can interact with people in much more natural ways, more like the ways that people engage with each other. In particular, advances in speech recognition now make it practical to use your voice to issue commands, as you may know. You can dictate messages and you can ask questions, all made possible by AI technology. Now, you probably don't think that machines have human emotions and feelings. And you're right. But that doesn't mean that they can't sense and respond appropriately to human feelings. You might be surprised to learn that a new field in AI called affective computing is concerned with recognizing human emotions, like impatience or sadness or anger. That way, the applications can tailor their responses accordingly. For instance, if you're hesitating and you look frustrated, a computer program might begin to offer you some kind of help or suggest what to do next. Let's see, why don't we start the video? I'll talk over the video. Perhaps the most exciting advance driven by AI is what's called augmented reality. Now, this is a fancy name for eyeglasses that can display semi-transparent images over what you're looking at. These systems scan your environment to build a local map, and they track the position of your head, unlike these microphones. Here's an example of a recent demonstration from Microsoft of a headset that overlays special graphics on top of real-world objects in the room around you. And you'll notice how the graphics integrate with walls and how they crawl over real furniture. Watch this. It's quite scary. That happens in my living room all the time. Beautiful. But augmented reality also has important applications to business. Now, here's an example of how it improved performance on a complex wiring task by 34%. On the left, you'll see a worker consulting a paper manual for instructions on what to do. And on the right, you see he's wearing augmented reality glasses that display the instructions right over the equipment. And that allows the technician to stay focused on the task. And as you can see, completed the task quite a bit more quickly. By the way, people work at that speed in the United States, I want you to know. Now, recently, there have been significant advances in a field called machine learning. And what's behind the advances in machine learning is the wide availability of enormous volumes of data. And these data is in electronic form. And it turns out that with enough data, you can solve a lot of problems that appear to require human intelligence. But that does not mean that the machines are intelligent. Machine learning is a misleading name because it has little, if anything, to do with human learning. Instead, machine learning is an assortment of tools for finding very subtle patterns in large collections of data. Now, that data can take many forms, which is why applications that may seem very different are actually more similar than you might expect. In the case of flexible robots, the data comes from sensors like cameras and radar. Scientists can use machine learning to do what's called image recognition. They extract patterns from the enormous amounts of data that stream from these sensors in order to identify nearby objects and the precise location of those objects. And then they can program the robots to interact appropriately with their environment. Can we run the video? You've already seen how this can be used to build a self-driving car. Now, this video is another example of a robot that happens to be named Big Dog that uses image recognition to navigate and walk through a forest and even to climb stairs. Now, consider language translation. The volume of information in digital form has grown dramatically because of the falling cost of storage and the growth of networks, most notably, of course, the internet. So machine learning techniques can now sift through all of this data to find useful patterns. And then it can use these patterns to perform tasks like translating from one language to another. Now, much of the work on natural computer interfaces also relies on machine learning. For instance, large collections of examples of recorded speech are used to build programs that allow you to speak to your phone. That's how they do it. Let me move on. The new technology is wonderful, but artificial intelligence will also pose new challenges for society. Now, the first of these is its impact on labor markets. The second is on the distribution of wealth, and the third is how we should ensure that artificially intelligent systems respect our social conventions. So I'm going to briefly discuss each one of these. You know, I'm often asked how AI is going to affect jobs. And if you think about artificial intelligence as an advance in automation, certainly one of its biggest impacts is going to be on the way we work. Will we all be out of work? What sort of jobs and what kind of skills are going to be valuable in the future? Well, while it's tempting to think of AI systems in general, and robots in particular as mechanical laborers that compete for employment, this isn't a helpful perspective from which to understand the impact they will have on labor markets. The robots are coming, but not exactly for our jobs. Machines and computers don't perform jobs. They automate tasks. And except in extreme cases, you don't roll in a robot and show an employee to the door. Instead, the new technology changes the nature of work. Now, you may have seen scary reports that 50% or more of today's jobs may fall to automation in the next 25 to 50 years. Now, that's likely to be correct, but it's absolutely misleading. If you go back and look at what people did 25 to 50 years in the past, you might be surprised to find that a large percentage of those jobs no longer exist. And I'm talking about jobs that, at least in the US, employed many, many millions of people. For instance, just about every executive used to have someone to answer their phone and type their documents and schedule their appointments. No more. Now it's everyone for themselves. Or consider telephone and switchboard operators. At its peak in the US, there were well over 1 million people doing those jobs. Today, and I checked this, there are only 10,000 left. Now, this applies not only for relatively low-skill tasks, but also for professions that we regard as requiring a lot of training and knowledge, because even experts spend much of their time doing mundane and repetitive tasks. Doctors review lab tests. Lawyers draft simple contracts. Accountants fill out tax forms. So as we automate these tasks, these experts become more productive, but the skills that are required to do their jobs change. Take a radiologist whose only task may be to read X-rays and MRIs. They may be out of a job if we automate that one simple task. And that's because today the machine learning techniques can already interpret medical images more accurately than a human doctor can. So, we get to the meat of the matter. Who will be out of a job? If your job involves a well-defined set of tasks with a clear and objective goal, then indeed your employment may be at risk. And that's because these are the sort of tasks that tomorrow's AI machines are going to be good at. In general, such jobs tend to be transactional in nature, as opposed to social, such as draft contracts, examining immigration documents. They often involve hand-eye coordination, such as laying bricks or driving a truck. But if your job involves a wide variety of tasks and requires the ability to solve problems in a busy and a changing environment, or if it requires a human touch, then your job is relatively safe. Such jobs may involve demonstrations of skill, such as performing in a dance recital or competing in a sporting contest. They may involve flexible problem solving, such as when you do nursing for elder care, take care of the elderly. They often involve establishing trust or expressing empathy, such as when you do a consultative sale of some kind. But let's face it, no one really wants to tell their troubles to an electronic bartender at the end of the day. And what fun would it be to listen to a robot perform Chopin on the violin? These jobs are safe. But changing the nature of work is not the only effect of technology. Now, whether it helps workers to do their jobs more efficiently, or whether it replaces them entirely, fewer people are needed to perform the same amount of work. But paradoxically, this also generates new jobs. The reason is the technological progress raises our productivity, which increases output and reduces costs. That makes us wealthier. And as consumers pay less for goods and services, they have more money to spend. So they purchase more. And that increases demand. And that increase in demand creates new jobs, which increases employment. Now, all of this is good, except for one problem. The new jobs are usually different from the old jobs. So the displaced workers often lack the skills needed to fill the newly created positions. Now, this is what economists call structural or technological unemployment. As long as these effects are gradual, the labor market can adapt gracefully. But if the changes are rapid or abrupt, significant problems can occur. The new technologies of artificial intelligence and the fourth industrial revolution are going to make it possible to automate a wide range of jobs and tasks that currently can only be done by humans. And by historical standards, this is likely to happen relatively quickly. As I've explained, this doesn't mean that there won't be any jobs, but it does mean that the workers displaced by the AI technology may not have the skills for the new jobs. So it will be a good idea to not only provide education for the young, but also to invest in vocational training for workers of all ages, and particularly for displaced workers. I was thrilled to hear the candidates for president understand this point and discuss this. This is way beyond what politicians in the US understand about these issues. We have a president today that wants to bring back coal mining and steel production. I'm on video, I'll be careful what I say, but I don't think that's a good approach to this problem. There's a similar story when it comes to wealth. While it's true that automation makes society richer, there are serious questions about just whose pockets are filled by that increased wealth. Now, as Karl Marx explained, automation is the substitution of capital for labor. So naturally, the benefits of automation are going to accrue to those that have the capital to invest and to those who can afford to own the new machines. Now, Marx understood that the conflict between capital and labor is a losing proposition for the workers. And it's a winning proposition for those who can afford to own the means of production. In the rush to take advantage of artificial intelligence technology, it would be wise for us to keep this in mind. You know, capitalism has raised millions of Koreans out of poverty in just a few short decades. And this is a tremendous achievement and demonstrates the great wisdom on the part of the Korean government. But it can also dramatically increase the differences between the wealthy and the poor. And that's a problem that can destabilize our society, which is exactly what's happening in the United States today. Don't copy us. The current political situation in the United States is an illustration of this. Now, Donald Trump, a man with no political experience, became president of the United States with no real qualifications for the job. He was elected largely because of the discontent and the anger of Americans who felt they were not participating in the economic growth and opportunities. Now, I urge you to take action to avoid these problems here in Korea. Great differences between rich and poor is not only morally wrong, it is bad for everyone. Okay, I'll stop my political speech there. Now I'd like to talk about a number of ethical and social issues that AI raises. Another challenge for the future is how we can ensure that increasingly capable AI machines behave in acceptable ways as they become more integrated with our lives and they begin to share our physical and our public spaces. The hard part will be to ensure that these machines respect what are often unstated social conventions that we obey. When should a robot be permitted to stand in line for you? Can a self-driving car take a parking spot, you saw one park itself, when there are human drivers who are waiting to take spots? Is that a good thing? So to address issues like these, we need to develop new rules for how we limit not the technology, but the use of these new machines. Where competence is at issue, we need what are called certification standards. Before we let robotic barbers or lawyers sell products, they will need to pass appropriate professional exams and safety tests, just like we have crash tests for cars today. And we're nowhere on how to make this happen. Here's something you may not have thought about. When is it acceptable for a robot to break the law? A dog walking robot shouldn't let its dog maul a child, bite a child, because the robot has been programmed to obey a keep off the grass sign. Your self-driving car should be capable of swerving onto the sidewalk to avoid a child who runs into the road if it can't stop. And there's research going on at Stanford right now by philosophers and ethicists on how to solve these problems. Now, none of that matters when computers operate in limited and well-defined domains, but if we want AI systems to be broadly trusted and utilized, we're going to need to answer these questions before we allow the general public to use them. Finally, I love this picture. We need a programmatic notion of basic ethics to guide actions in unanticipated circumstances. Now, this is not to say that machines have to be moral, simply that they have to behave morally in relevant situations. How do we prioritize human life, animal life, private property, or self-preservation of the robot itself? These are important questions for which we need to have some kind of programmatic answers. Now I'd like to turn to some predictions for the future. It's very hard to know what will happen, and particularly hard to know when it will happen. But luckily for me, I'm old enough that I'm not likely to be around long enough to answer for my mistakes in this presentation. I believe that the most important long-term trend will be new classes of devices and applications that will be far more personal and useful than the ones that we have today. They will enhance our connection to people and things in our immediate environment rather than to distract us from it. They will help us to navigate the real world and not draw our attention away into cyberspace or take us away to fantasy worlds. Now, unlike today's devices, which require us, I meant to carry my phone, to divert our attention. We walk around here, people are walking into walls all the time, I see, looking at their phones. We don't want to focus on our devices. The future technologies we will have will become more invisible and unobtrusive, except to the person using them, of course. We're going to be wearing tiny earphones and transparent eyeglasses, or perhaps even contact lenses directly in our eye. And instead of interfering with our ability to talk and to listen and to see the way that today's devices do, the new devices will improve the way we communicate and improve the way that we interact with our environment. The new generation of sound interfaces, like today's devices, will provide helpful information on driving directions, and it'll alert you to email and text messages that you might be receiving. But in addition, they're going to act as an electronic personal assistant, whispering in your ear. Did she whisper when she translated that? Don't forget to take your keys with you. They're under a napkin on the table. It's been 3 days since you did something nice for your spouse. Your blood pressure is a little high. You should take a long walk this afternoon. Now, your eyeglasses or your contact lenses are also going to be amazing. Imagine that you're at a business event like this one, and as you approach each person, their name and affiliation pops up in your eyes as though they were wearing a large name tag. You won't have to look down and, oh, yes. Now, for friends or people that you might want to meet to become friends, some common interests or suggestions for things to say might appear, like, she likes to ride bikes. His daughter is in your daughter's class at school. Hey, thank this person for the birthday greeting that they sent you last year. Now, soon our devices may be teaching us to play tennis by showing us where the ball is heading, or connecting us with a nearby friend who's also eating lunch alone, or giving us advice on our love life. Finally, I'd like to talk about what Korean business and government can do to better prepare us to take advantage of the fourth industrial revolution. I didn't know I put that in there. In talking to people here in Korea, I've sensed a lot of concern that Korea may be behind the United States and China in artificial intelligence, and a lot of worry about whether Korea can catch up. The AlphaGo victory over Lee Sedol seems to have advanced some of these worries. Well, I want to tell you today, respectful for my hosts for their opinion, I don't actually agree with that concern. I think that Korea is coming for artificial intelligence, not the other way around. Korea is quite advanced in artificial intelligence technology, and more important, Korea is in an excellent position to be a world leader in this field. It's one of the most digitally connected countries in the world and has some of the highest use of the internet and online games. As I said at the start of my talk, it's amazing to visit here. It's like visiting the future. Everything seems to work. You don't know what it's like in the United States. The talk is great, but nothing works. This is the difference between a vending machine in Korea and in the United States. Very different. Surprisingly, to be a leader in AI, Korea does not need to perform the most advanced AI research. What makes a product or service valuable is not AI itself, but how it is used to solve the problems. Many Korean companies are leaders in building products that people really like at prices that they can afford. And this same skill will apply to AI. AI itself is not valuable. It's how you put it to practical use in products. And that's where Korea has a real advantage. The flat panel displays was pioneered by American companies like General Electric and Westinghouse. And the OLED, the new TVs, that was done at Eastman Kodak, developed that original concept and technology. But companies like LG and Samsung were among the companies that most benefited from this technology by putting it to practical use in products. And of course, they remain leaders in these markets today. So I might respectfully suggest, instead of investing in the most advanced AI research, I suggest that Korea might do better by focusing on 3 challenges. The first is generating and aggregating large databases of information for analysis by machine learning programs. Machine learning is very good at extracting useful information from very large collections of data. And the more data, the better these programs perform. This means that companies and the government can accelerate the use of artificial intelligence by developing ways to share the data more widely while protecting individual privacy and proprietary intellectual property. Aggregating mega databases for use by AI programs is one way that Korea can ensure that it puts these assets to their best and highest use. Secondly, Korea might do well to focus on training engineers to apply existing AI technology to practical problems, rather than training advanced research scientists. While companies like Google and Apple fight with each other in the Silicon Valley where I live to hire the best AI research talent and to show off their most advanced research, as they did with AlphaGo, this doesn't mean that they will be the ones who benefit the most from this new technology. Now, Korean engineers are among the best in the world, and they are the ones who can drive Korean leadership in the 4th Industrial Revolution. Third, the government can help by providing infrastructure and regulations that will smooth the path for companies to test and deploy AI-based applications. Many existing regulations were not designed for the world of the future. Traffic laws may have to be changed to accommodate self-driving cars and taxis. I think that picture may be a bit out of date. In the future, learning a new profession as taxi driver? In the future, sidewalks may be partitioned so that delivery robots don't interfere with human foot traffic. And rules may be needed to control when and how AI programs are allowed to enter into contracts on your behalf. So let me sum up. I believe that the future will be very bright because of artificial intelligence. In the short run, new, more flexible machines will take over routine or difficult work that is now performed by humans, and that will make us wealthier in the process. AI will help us to cope with the challenge of staying up to date in our increasingly digital world, and by helping us to find the information most relevant to us and assisting us to better understand what it means for our lives. And AI will expand the use of computers by making it easier for people to interact with electronic devices. But in the long run, I think we're going to see our devices not so much as productivity aids or sources of entertainment, but rather as trusted and indispensable personal assistants who understand our needs, and they look after our personal interests, and they help us to navigate both our social and our physical world. I believe we have some very exciting times ahead, in part because of artificial intelligence. But with these advances come some challenges for society. Many workers will be displaced, and the gap between rich and poor may grow larger. A better understanding of artificial intelligence can only help us to navigate these interesting times and ensure that the benefits are widely spread to all people. But in the end, life is all about people. It's not about machines. How this new technology is put to use is up to you. For one, I look forward to seeing all of the wonderful and innovative ways that you will make use of artificial technology to build a better world. Thank you very much.
네, 지금까지 제리 카플란 교수의 강연 들었습니다. AI가 무엇인지 우리가 굉장히 궁금했고 했는데 교수께서는 한국에게 오히려 큰 미래가 있다고 말씀해 주셨네요. 저희가 앞서 예고 드린 것처럼 카톡방을 통해서 몇 가지 질문을 받았습니다. 질문 드리고 교수님의 답변 듣는 것으로 오전 세션 마무리해 보겠습니다. 먼저 교수님 앞으로 모셔주시고요. 저희가 받은 것 중에 일단 한 가지 먼저 좀 공유해 보겠습니다. 지금 동시 통역되고 있는 것으로 믿고 질문을 좀 공유하겠습니다. 자, 그러면 역시 또 이 질문은 우리 아이들과 관련된 얘기였는데요. 자, 4차 산업혁명 시대가 임박했고 도래할 것인데 우리는 우리 아이들을, 다음 세대들을 아직 동시 통역이 안 돼서.
Sorry, my Korean's a little rusty.
네. 자, 이제 동시 통역이 시작됐으니까 질문을 한번 다시 소개해드리겠습니다. 우리 아이들, 다음 세대, 과연 이 4차 산업혁명 도래하는 시점에 아이들에게 무엇을 가르쳐야 될까? 어떤 메시지를 남겨야 될까? 또 4차 산업혁명 시대가 갖는 인재상이라는 건 무엇인가? 교수님의 생각이 궁금합니다. 이런 질문이 있었습니다.
Well, I think that one of the key issues about education was actually addressed. I'm listening to my own translation. One of the key issues for the way we need to transform education in the future is already addressed by one of the, or more of the presidential candidates. We have to stop thinking that education is for the young and that you learn a trade and then you simply apply that for the rest of your life. Instead, we have to change our ideas so that you continue, maybe every 5 or every 10 years, we have ways economically to permit you to take time off from work, to update your skills, or perhaps even to learn a new profession. This is a mess in the US today because the cost of that is borne by the worker themselves. And there are ways to avoid that or to mitigate the risks that they take. So I think that's very important. As to what topics, this is also, I can only speak for the United States. The education system is out of step with the needs of employers. And the reason for that is economics. The government is the lender of first resort, the financier of our educational system. And because of that, the things that are being taught, there's no economic incentive to update them and to keep them in touch with the needs that employers have. So I've actually written a book on this subject. I won't promote my book here, but we need to find ways to connect the where and how we're investing in education so that the skills that the workers learn have enough economic value to generate that value back. Just as today in the US, you borrow a mortgage against your house, and it matters how much the house is worth. They're not going to loan you money against a house that you will pay money for that is not worth that in the marketplace. So we need to privatize some of this process of education, and that will create a self-correcting system where the right things will be taught in the schools, because if you're teaching the wrong things, nobody's going to give you money to go and learn them.
네, 심상정 후보가 얘기했던
Wait. Sorry.
네 번째로 아까 축사하셨던 심상정 후보의 정책 관련된 말씀을 해주셨는데 제가 사회자 자격으로 조금만 더 추가 질문을 드리자면 좀 거창하게 답을 주셨는데 그 제리 카플란 교수의 자녀분들 또는 손자 손녀가 있다면 아이들한테 뭐라고 조언하십니까? 네이션. 뭐라고 조언하십니까? 4차 산업혁명 시대가 온다. 너희들 이래야 된다. 한 가지 기억해라. 뭘 말씀하시겠습니까?
That's a very good question. First of all, I do have children. I have 4 children. The youngest is 18, and the oldest is 24 now. If that doesn't make you sympathetic, all 4 are girls. And if that doesn't make you sympathetic, they were all teenagers at the same time. What do I tell them? Let me tell you from my own experience. My undergraduate degree is in liberal arts. It's in the history and philosophy of science from the University of Chicago. And when I got out of school, I had trouble getting a job working in a warehouse moving boxes. That's how well prepared I was for the workforce. After a year of doing that, I thought, I'll use the English expression, this really sucks. And so I thought, I got to go back to school. So I thought, it's going to be the future, maybe computers. We didn't have much in the way of computers back then. Maybe that's going to be a good field. And I went and got a master's and PhD in computer science, specializing in a wacky new field called artificial intelligence. Now, immediately upon graduating, I was inundated with excellent job offers. I could have gone anywhere, and I did. I was very well paid for a young man at that time with this new degree. However, as I look back on my 30 or 40 years, I can't even count that high, my career, I believe that the education that prepared me best for the challenges I was to face was the liberal arts education and not the computer science education. The things that I was taught in computer science are so antiquated today that they're not really relevant, and they wouldn't help me to get a job in today's computer science market. But my work in liberal arts and philosophy of science, history and philosophy of science, they taught me how to read critically, taught me to have a very broad perspective on society. That has served me much better over the long run than did my professional training. So I tell my kids is, go to school and learn something that you won't be able to learn later. Nobody's going to pay them to get a degree in philosophy or get a degree in psychology, as one of them did, or get a degree in English criticism, which another one did. Now, admittedly, they had some trouble getting jobs, and I'm hopeful to getting them off my payroll soon. But I know that in the long run, their education, as liberal arts education, will serve them better than if they had gone to nursing school or computer science school at this time.
알겠습니다. 미래학자이자 컴퓨터 과학 전공자 그리고 AI 전문가께서 인문학의 중요성을 강조해 주신 답변을 들었습니다. 자, 그러면 이건 절대 정치적 질문이 아닙니다. 그런데 이제 아까 그 환담하실 때 우리 대선 후보 4명 만나셨고 아침에 축사를 통해 4 후보의 그 미래와 관련된 말씀을 들으셨는데 그야말로 그 미래 준비와 관련해서 어떤 좀 인상을 받으셨는지 좀 눈에 띄는 코멘트가 있으셨는지 그 질문이 나왔기에 저희 질문을 좀 전달드리겠습니다.
Sure. Well, you don't want to get me going on the political subject again, but I mean, it is so refreshing. My reaction is, can I please move here? These people, they understood what needed to be done. They were thoughtful, intelligent, educated people. They were talking about things that weren't designed to get you angry or get you upset or make you feel concerned about foreigners or building walls or military actions. They were talking about the kinds of things that are really going to make a difference here in Korea. And any one of those candidates that I heard today is better qualified to be president of the United States than the candidate that we wound up electing. You can guess who I voted for.
미국에서는 아주 정치적일 수 있는 발언을 서울서 해주셨기 때문에 별 문제가 안 되는 걸로 저희가 이제 이해를 하겠습니다. 자, 세 번째 질문은 혹시 플로어에 계신 분 중에 오늘 AI 내지는 4차 산업혁명 그 제리 카플란 교수의 강연 중에 질문 있으시면 지금 손 드셔도 좋습니다. 저희 마이크 전달해 드리겠습니다. 네, 저 뒤쪽에 있는데요.
오케이. 개인적으로 퍼스널 어시스턴트에 대해서 굉장히 감동을 받았는데요. 그러니까 내가 저 사람을 보고 있으면 저 사람은 어떤 직업과 어떤 갖고 있고 나와는 어떤 네트워크가 있는 사람이고 과연 이게 지금 현실화된 건지 과연 이게 앞으로 그러니까 현실화되려면 결국 가장 중요한 건 빅데이터지 않습니까? 빅데이터인데 과연 이런 개인 정보를 각 개인들이 공유를 하려고 할지 그게 좀 궁금한데 의견 한번 듣고 싶습니다.
Yeah, well, that's a very specific question, a specific answer. No, that does not exist today in any reasonable way. And there's a big issue of privacy, as you point out, because people may or may not want their personal information to be displayed. Excuse me. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, my time. People may not want their personal information displayed in that way. So it's important we have government control and regulation so that you can control what other people can find out about you. It will also be a problem that people will fake information about themselves and lie about themselves, just as they do now. So those are all issues that will definitely come up. But I might meet you here. Here, I've got a pocket full of cards of people that I collected. I can go home and get on the internet. I could look them up and find out their backgrounds. And what I'm really saying is that in the future, a properly designed intelligent agent to support me might instantly go out and that might use face recognition to figure out who they are or look at their card, and then go out instantly to the internet, just as I'm doing manually now, and bring that information forward and present a couple of facts about them. I think that might be very valuable, and particularly at a conference like this, the reason we pass out our cards is so other people can know who we are, and displaying that kind of information just by glancing at somebody is not only improves the communication, but it's also more polite. You can use that information while maintaining eye contact and being friendly and interactive with that person, as opposed to staring down at their card or running to a computer to figure out what they're going to do.
네, 마지막 질문은 이 카카오톡으로 나온 질문 하나 좀 드리겠습니다. 이 내용은 결국 부의 집중 가능성에 대한 건데 결국 개인에게도 이익이 가겠지만 기업의 그 부가 쌓이면서 미래 AI가 주도하는 그 미래 경제에서는 혹시 큰 기업만 살아남아서 경쟁이 더 줄어드는 것 아닌지, 과연 그 미래 경쟁의 부재 가능성과 관련해서는 어떤 예상을 하고 계시고 또 만약 대책이 있다면 어떤 게 있을지 설명을 좀 부탁드리겠습니다.
Well, we have this problem today. I'm just saying it's going to get worse. So we need, our economic system is not some kind of natural phenomenon like the weather in which we simply have to react to it and have an umbrella or not go out or shovel snow or whatever it might be. Our economy is highly regulated, and how we use our economy and whether we use it to serve our needs is entirely up to us. So in the United States, there's one of the two parties that seems to think that somehow capitalism was handed down by God and that we should have unfettered capitalism, which has these issues and problems. But that is not the case. The system is actually very highly regulated, even in the United States. It's just rigged in favor of the rich. And I speak from personal experience on this. And I can be very specific, which I will not do on video, about the ways in which the laws and the tax system in the United States is designed to make wealthy people wealthier. Well, we don't have to have it that way. We can decide as a society how our economic regulations can be aligned with our social goals. And I think really you're in a much better position here in Korea than we are in the United States, unfortunately, to do that so that all people can participate in the economy. All people can do well. This is just basic moral common sense. And I have learned, I'll tell you something, I know a lot of very wealthy people in the United States. Many of names you probably know. And the one universal thing, interestingly enough, you might think, well, they like it the way it is. They do not like it the way it is. Most of them that I know in the Silicon Valley are deeply concerned about exactly this issue. Now, that is not to say they want to give away all their money, although some of them have done much of that. But they would like to see our system changed so that, sure, people who work hard and are successful are rewarded, but not in such extremity that other people who work hard and don't have the same opportunities and cannot attend Stanford and don't have the capability of some of the background that's necessary to participate, they shouldn't starve and they shouldn't live in poverty. That's just bad for everyone. So I encourage you to think about the economic system not as something that we tinker with and we should get out of the way, which is a common view in the US, but rather as something that should be designed just like our transportation infrastructure is designed, and to do so with very deliberative views toward what we are trying to accomplish. I believe that just as the Federal Reserve in the United States has a target inflation rate and manages the economy to try to keep at that rate, we should have a target rate for income inequality. And there are real economic measures, something called the Gini Index, if there's any economists in the room. Maybe you've heard of it. So we could have a target. We could say this is how much on aggregate we want a difference between rich and poor, and we could engage in economic policies that will redistribute or create opportunities in such a way to accomplish that goal as well.
알겠습니다. 실리콘밸리에 있는 대학에 근무하시니까 직접 사적으로 알고 있는 분들이 갖고 있는 현재 시스템에 대한 비판적 시각까지 곁들여 주셨습니다. 오늘 4가지 질문에 대한 답을 주셨는데 저희 카카오톡 단체방에 몇 가지 질문이 더 있는데 저희 오찬으로 이어지는 시간 때문에 다 소개해드리지 못했습니다. 질문 주셨는데 그 성에 대해서 저희가 답을 충분히 해드리지 못해서 좀 죄송스럽게 생각합니다. 이것으로 제리 카플란 교수의 강연과 질의응답 시간 마치겠습니다. 카플란 교수님 고맙습니다.
감사합니다.